All right, we're live with the YouTube people. Let's go ahead and get IG going. All right, good morning. Little Tech's Friday update on this beautiful Friday morning. Hope everyone's and ready to attack the day. We've got some awesome stories to cover from this past week. So a few that you guys have probably heard about as you've been on social media. Obviously, the Elon Musk story, him offering, I think it was $43 billion. Meta charging some wild fees for the metaverse. We also have this new battery plant going into Bowling Green. So lots of exciting stuff to talk about. Let's get Evan here and we'll get started. Okay.
Hey,
What's up, Nate?
what's going on?
Hey,
Good
good
morning.
morning.
Good. This week in tech history that I need to go over real quick. So in Yuri Gagarin, I'm going to go with, was the first man to go to space at the age of 27. And in the 61 years since then, do you guys want to guess how many people have been to space in the 61 years since Yuri?
I saw the document, so I can't guess.
57.
It's ridiculous. That is a terrible guess. 600.
To be honest, though, if I hadn't seen the answer, I would have guessed 200 maybe. Like
Yeah.
600 seems like a ton.
I guess it does when you think about it, but that's globally. So
Yeah. Is Yuri Russian?
he is, yeah. I was going
Yeah.
to leave that part out.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I called it out. Hey, we're the first to the moon. That's what matters.
That's right. Evan, you want to go over our sponsors real quick before we get things started here?
Yeah, for sure. So as usual, we've got our presenting sponsor, KY Innovation. They're doing amazing things for the state of Kentucky along the lines of technology and innovation and startups and entrepreneurship. So we got all kinds of great programs that support entrepreneurs like ourselves. So we encourage you to check out their resources. We've also got Render Capital. So Render Capital is a venture capital firm out of Louisville, Kentucky that operates primarily out of Indiana and Louisville. They have a competition called the Render Competition that I participated and was a winner of last year. They've got open applications right now, so I encourage you to go check that out. The Render team is amazing to work with, and the Render Competition is a great way to kick off your fundraising journey. So check them out. Render was render.com/competition.
Close.
Capital/competition.
Render.capital/competition.
They got the whole thing in that URL there.
Yeah. Well, cool. Let's dive into some of the breaking news coming out of Kentucky. So anybody in the state should definitely be excited for to be another record year in terms of economic development for the state. So there is another battery plant, this time coming to Bowling Green. It's going to be a $2 billion investment. So Evan, you want to give us the lowdown on, the significance and what this means for the state?
Yeah, I mean, this is coming off the news of the Ford SK Innovation announcement in Glendale. And that was a $6 billion project. So it's basically 2 gigafactories there. It's going to be the largest battery factory, I think, in the world. It's going to be 5,000 jobs. So this is just adding to the battery facilities here in Kentucky. And if you look at what they describe as like the corridor, which is I-65, and like this region, it's now the battery capital of the entire world, which is very cool. So there's going to be about 2,000 jobs supported by this new factory, and this factory is going to support several car manufacturers with battery manufacturing. So very exciting for Kentucky. I was just with a friend, my co-founder Ryan Harris, the other day. His dad does development in Elizabethtown and kind of that area, and there was a study done on how many jobs will be brought by the Glendale facility. So 5,000 direct jobs within the manufacturing plant, but 30,000 indirect jobs will be created. And so what that means for the community is there's going to need to be a lot more housing. There's going to be a lot more businesses started and a lot more just economic development within that community. And so the same thing's going to be happening around Bowling Green and Nashville and that whole I-65 corridor. So very exciting for Kentucky. This is a huge deal. This is not going to be the last one. Kentucky's going to get several more of these, and so it's just going to continue to happen. We're right in the middle of the United States. We got I-65. A lot of the big car manufacturers are along I-65, so this is a great place to build a battery plant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like this has been a very concerted effort on the part of the government to make Kentucky this battery capital of the United States. So I think that's been a great path for them to go down, and I'm excited to see these projects kind of pan out.
Interesting to see what other companies
This attracts them.
to have
factories.
in Kentucky, and in that specific area of Kentucky. Kind of like what Evan mentioned, the follow-on jobs and the other jobs that are going to come from this. I mean, I think that there would be around 7,000 or 8,000 direct jobs that are going to come from these factories, but economic development's going to be spurred by this. So big kudos to Kentucky state government, to Andy Beshear's administration for making this happen. Just exciting stuff, exciting time to be. We'll continue to keep you guys updated as we hear. It's always good to be highlighting something Kentucky's doing right. Updates. So let's move on to this next story. Meta and Web3 and virtual fee. Nate, I want you to kind of
give us the rundown
on what's going on. Out of all of us, probably
you and Danny are probably
the Web3 guys that are diving. So talk about what the hell's Meta doing in Web3 right now.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple different facets to this story. Some of our listeners and watchers of this may have seen yesterday some headlines that said Meta, again, previously Facebook, is going to take 50% of a 50% fee of sales through their new, basically, metaverse ecosystem. And I think it's important to break that down a little bit. So Meta has the Horizon, and then the Oculus. Like Oculus is the physical headset. Horizons is the actual metaverse that they've created so far. So there's a 47.5% fee, which is how people round it up to 50%. But that even breaks down into two pieces. Any type of software sales through the Quest store, so if you're buying the game or if you're buying an app basically on the Quest store, there's going to be a 30% fee on that. Once you're in a game, or if you're in Horizon Worlds, the piece that Meta built itself, and you buy an item in the virtual world, that's a 17.5% fee. So theoretically, those could be stacked for a developer. If you buy their app and then you buy an item in the app, that's how you get to the 47.5% fee. People were really freaking out about this yesterday for two reasons. One is because Zuckerberg specifically has been very, very negative about Apple charging a 30% fee on their app store. But I also think it's important we put that in context. That's for all charges on the App Store. So that could be both app purchases and in-app purchases, which if we're using the stacking methodology here, what is that, 60%? So that it does kind of line up more there. But the fact that Zuckerberg kept saying like Apple is so predatory and was one of the big voices that started making Apple rethink that 30%, it's interesting that they're now charging high prices as well. It's also interesting because the whole idea of the metaverse and Web3 decentralization in general is power back to the creator. How can people get paid adequately for their work? And if we're centralizing the metaverse and we're charging close to 50%, that goes against that whole ethos. And it also is not competitive when you look at other platforms, such as like OpenSea, where you can sell digital items right now. I think they have a 2.5% fee. So just magnitude's different business model there. And understandably, creators are upset because they expected something very different from Meta after what Zuckerberg has been saying over the past couple years.
You think?
I think these are pretty normal fees. Apple has a similar fee for the App Store. So, for instance, if somebody does in-app payments, we'd have to pay 30% eventually. Once we hit $1 million in revenue, you start paying that 30%. So, I mean, that's not out of question. It's aligned with Apple. Like Nate said, it is unfortunate that they were talking against Apple on that fee, and now they're just kind of copying them. So kind of hypocritical there. But beyond that, I don't have a whole lot else to say. I think that when you provide a new platform, you should be able to monetize it in the way that you wish, and the market will determine whether or not that fee's in a good spot. Because if that fee's too high, people won't come onto the platform, and they'll have to lower it. So the market will speak for itself.
That is the most evident side of the argument that you could have possibly said. But I agree partially. I think that it's just very anti-metaverse, anti-Web3. I mean, Web3, Twitter, at least the part of it that I follow, was kind of rejoicing at this. They're like, this is literally helping us out by them doing this because the fees are so high. Like, this is so
That's interesting.
anti-Web3 that it's going to push people further towards Web3 just because there's already a sentiment of people not liking Meta as is. So, especially with these headlines of saying, oh, they're charging, maybe it drives more people to look into Web3 and the benefits of that. But yeah, there's still a lot to be done in terms of developing the metaverse. Yeah. So I'm sure the solutions of all this as well.
Yeah. Much more, real quick, much more of a philosophical debate around this. But I mean, if Horizon Worlds is Facebook's metaverse, and then runs into whatever the metaverse is, whether it's from other companies or from more decentralized organizations, like everyone has a Facebook, everyone's mom has a Facebook, so they're just positioned to be able to like create this large metaverse if they make the onboarding easy. And I think because of that, they can command these fees, where if it's kind of an upstart metaverse from some decentralized org, they can't command that same revenue split. So I think we're going to see a dichotomy in what people experience when they think of like a decentralized internet.
Yeah,
that's just
a good point.
Interesting to me.
I like that a lot. All right, well, let's move on to this final story, and that is the one that you probably cannot escape this past week, and that is Elon Musk making an offer to purchase Twitter. So at the front here, there's been some different like finance terms thrown around that I just want to establish before digging into this any deeper. So we've got a hostile takeover that I just wanted to define. That's just essentially when a company or person in this case, another company against the wishes of the target company's management. And that can be done through a tender offer, which is essentially what Elon Musk has done by offering above market rates for the shares to the shareholders. And now another term I want to define is poison pill, which is likely what Twitter is considering in some form or fashion. That's just essentially when they can issue new shares at a discount to existing shareholders, dilute the ownership stake of that person who's trying to acquire them, to where it would be a lot more expensive, essentially, and disincentivize that person from taking them over. So wanted to establish that because I've seen those words kind of thrown around a lot and just wanted to make sure everyone understood what was going on here. But Evan, our go-to guy, why don't you...
And Elon Musk guy.
And Elon Musk guy, big Elon Musk. Kick us off by talking what your thoughts are on this whole arrangement going down, and any other thoughts that you have on the whole situation.
Yeah, I think the only way this isn't going to go through is if the SEC finds some reason to block it. Other than that, I think it's going to have to go through because Twitter shareholders are given an offer here that is pretty ridiculous. I mean, Elon Musk is just coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to buy this way above market value, which is, you rarely see that at this magnitude of it. He's the richest person on earth, so he has the money. He doesn't care about the economics. He said that himself. He does not care. He just wants to buy it. So if the board doesn't allow this to go through, then they'll be going directly against shareholders, and there's really no question about that. If you're a shareholder, you want the best and highest monetary value possible for those shares. Nobody has ever come close to this kind of offer, so this is quite the offer that is not going to be able to be turned down. Again, I think the only way that this doesn't go through is the SEC turns it down. And as far as what he wants to do with Twitter, that's unknown. But I think he wants to make some big changes along the lines of censorship and start to kind of push back on censorship in a big way, which can be dangerous. I trust that he uses logic in his decisions versus politics. He's the greatest problem solver we've ever seen. So this is a problem that he wants to try to tackle as well, which is how do you maintain free speech on the internet while also keeping people safe. I think he has something in mind for that, or else he wouldn't be buying Twitter. So I think it's going to be interesting what he does afterwards. As far as the finance side of this, I mean, it's a great offer. I mean, Twitter is probably years away from being able to produce that kind of value in their shares, and so shareholders would much rather take that now. I mean, he pushed the price up from I think like $30-something to now it's $50-something. I haven't looked at the share price this morning, so he pushed it up almost 30%, if not more.
Yep.
I mean, I agree with everything you say there. I know that a lot of large shareholders of Twitter have come out, or maybe a lot's an exaggeration, a few have come out on Twitter and saying they reject the offer and what Twitter can become, and it's the fact that it can be owned by many people as a public company, like the long-term value of it would be much greater than what they think Elon Musk could even buy today at $54 a share. Is there any consideration there when you think of fiduciary duty, or is it just today, this is a good deal, we have to take it as a fiduciary of the company?
No, you take it today. I mean, there's no way that they're going to be able to produce 30 or 40% alpha on top of where they were this quickly. They hadn't shown any signs of being able to do that. Their management team just turned over. He's never run a company of this magnitude. He's never run a media company. So Twitter's just not in a good spot to turn this down.
Twitter is such an interesting company when we think of tech companies and specifically social media. Like, I feel like the influence it has is really outsized of the size of company that it is in Silicon Valley. And I think that puts it in a unique spot for Elon to be able to do this, which is super interesting. But I also understand, I don't know how much of a consideration this should be, but I understand it being off-putting to some people. Like, should the richest person in the world just be able to buy a massive media company that has a global reach and just own it? Like, that can be scary.
Yeah, I get that for sure. And I actually put a poll on Instagram story trying to just get the people that follow me on how do they this? Is this a good thing in their eyes? And overwhelmingly, people like this. And I think it's very situational. I think if you just say, oh, now buying basically the virtual town to communicate, that sounds awful. And I get that. And I agree with that. And this is where there's going to be some division in this because it's Elon Musk. I think that makes it better than just the world's richest person. Like, if this were to be anybody else besides Musk, I could see this being an absolute disaster. That being said, I think there are still a lot of pros and cons to this. One of the major cons that I see is honestly distracting Elon from SpaceX. I mean, he's already running two massive companies with massive lofty goals, and now he's going to take over Twitter. And I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot even for Elon Musk. Concerns with it. Set a bad precedent. That's something that Brandon, who I think is on this live right now, him and I were DMing back and forth about it. It's just like, where do we draw the line in terms of what amounts of wealth are actually able to do? Like, can we just mega wealthy person to make kind of any massive purchase as long as it is okay by the SEC, as long as it's not breaking any laws? I think that's an interesting question. Again, I think it's very one of those things that you have to pick apart with the details that you have and not try to apply one broad sort of solution to the whole thing. But I do think it's important to understand like why Elon is doing this, because I see a lot of false narratives kind of circulating around social media. I see the narrative, it's the world's richest person basically talking about free speech and wanting to take it private. I get that side of it, but I really do believe Elon's intentions are he wants free speech and he knows the importance of free speech and in democracy, and that he's one of the greatest problem solvers that our generation has seen. And I don't agree with that. I don't know what to tell you at this point, honestly. So that aspect, somebody like that is going to have an influence on Twitter. That's what gets me excited. But obviously, I don't want to just say it's all good, it's all roses. There's a lot to be considered here. I have any other thoughts to that, but something that keep the popcorn out because it's going to continue to get.
I want to ask you guys a question. Do you guys think Elon Musk is political? Like, in his decisions, in the way that he runs his companies, do you think it's from a place of politics or a place of logic?
I don't think it would be reasonable to say that there's not some amount of politics to play into it.
Yeah, but okay, that
Primarily, no. Primarily, no. I think Elon is motivated by making the world a better place. I don't think politics play a massive role in leans politically towards free speech, more freedoms type of thing. Nate, what do you think?
No, I would agree with that, but I would also say that you can't predict someone's future actions based on their past actions.
Sure. Yeah, that's actually an excellent point as well. So yeah, like I said, keep the popcorn out. This is only going to continue to develop
Yeah.
and get wilder and wilder throughout the next couple weeks as this goes down.
Yeah.
Another.
He said he had a plan B yesterday when he did a TED talk. So there's another way to try to take it over if they don't accept the bid, I guess.
I was just about to mention that. If you want to just hear it, I would recommend going and listening to him himself. Don't read an article that has a journalistic spin on it trying to push a narrative about what's going on. Go listen to Elon talk about why he wants to do this and some of his plans for it. To really increase free speech, increase transparency. He wants the algorithm to be down a tweet or altering it in any way. All things that I think we go listen to it from the man himself. It's a good interview. A lot of good stuff is covered in it. So I think that would be, if you're interested in keeping up with this, learning more about it, I would recommend trying to supplement your media intake with something directly from Elon. Cool. Okay. Well, let's transition up. Nate, transition into that. You are swagged out today.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Not just wearing the logo because I like the look of it, although I do. But we launched a new merch store. So these are 2 items that are available. We also got these with the nice orange logo, and we got some Develop Lex merch as well. MiddleTechStore.com, super easy URL. Go snag yourself some branded merch.
Yeah, and on that note, we just launched our new website, middletech.com. We feel so legit. We're really proud.
Finally got that domain.
That's right. Yeah, we were chasing after that for a while. Kind of weekend thoughts do we have coming out? Is it the one I just recorded?
It's yours, yeah. Why don't you talk about it?
Yeah. So this one, kind of out there with. I covered. So I've been reading a lot of blogs by a guy named Tim Urban. They're just a really great thinker and great writer. And I read this blog by Tim about Neuralink and the significance of Neuralink. And in this blog, Tim talks about this idea of the human colossus. And it's essentially describing the human species, humanity as a whole, as kind of one functioning organism, which is a really weird way of humanity. But it just, the interconnectedness of humanity, and when you look at it from a really broad scale and you look at all the different ways we're connected, I take that, well, Tim took that a step further, and it's really about the computer colossus. So, now we have this network of internet called the internet, and then, this whole blog about Neuralink dives into the thought of what happens when you connect the human colossus to the computer colossus in a seamless way to where there's no delay in communication. That is, what Neuralink is essentially aiming to do. So it's just a really interesting topic that we can thought. So if you get a chance this weekend, check it out.
This is a good one.
And then on Monday, we've got an episode Rochelle Smalls. We've been having a lot lately, capital in this region specifically. So they've just called Endeavor Edge. To that, all the implications of it, why this, that. It was a great conversation. On Monday. Other than that, we've got a beautiful Friday ahead of us. I hope everyone has an awesome day, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.